The following is a paid program sponsored by Get Elevated. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you hear do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.
Please note that while we will cover a multitude of topics, including many alleged health benefits, all information provided should be considered anecdotal and informational. Please consult with your physician before adding cannabis to your medical regimen. Cannabis is for adults 21 years of age and older. Also, paid sponsorships are not to be misconstrued as preferred or favored by the host. In any way, they are merely that, paid sponsorships. Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to Get Elevated with Gia. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this show is about truth and clarity in cannabis. If you've listened to the show, thank you so much for returning. This is a very exciting part one of a two-part series. This is a show about cannabis. We're talking about the truth, the clarity. We want to have fun, but really the goal is about global, not just here in the States, but global awareness and access and education for cannabis. Okay, Dr. Paige Batty is here with us. Hello.
Hi there.
So this show is called Cannabis and the Evolution of Mankind. That's a big topic, but you chose that, Doc, right?
Yeah, sure. This is a great topic for me. Not only is it just an amazing topic to talk about, I think mankind is in a different stage of where it's going right now, but it also is what brought me to cannabis and being a doctor and healing and being connected to patients and, life.
Well, so let's talk about some of the topics underneath that umbrella. We're going to talk about cannabis and healthcare because that's your background and that's kind of what got you here. Cannabis and pain management and the study that you're doing, I think that's really important. We'll talk about addiction, palliative care for cancer, right? And then we'll talk about just fun and wellness. So I actually knew about you well before I met you because I was working with your colleagues at the dispensary, the sanctuary. Just based on who I am, they kept saying, you got to meet Paige, you got to meet. I was like, okay, well, set it up. And then nobody did. And then when the show came on and your wife was like, wait a minute, this is a great opportunity. So I had heard about what a great connection we would have. That was evidenced by our first meeting. So who better than not just because you're a physician, you're a DO, which I love. My interpretation of that is you really do treat the whole patient.
Correct.
This is not just the elbow sore, let's cut the elbow and do surgery, but it's like what is affecting it? What is the underlying cause? So that being said, tell us a bit about who you are, your background, and then we'll talk about your journey to cannabis.
Sure. I'm Persian and I moved here to the U.S. when I was 12 years old, mainly due to significant racism. I was a Jew in a Muslim country.
Sure.
It was difficult, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned so much. I don't see color. I don't see race.
Okay.
My wife is Muslim. I grew up in a Jewish family.
Okay.
My son is half Christian. And I really don't believe in religion. I believe in all religions.
Right.
Just the concept of separation by religion or any kind of separation by color, race, belief has been erased off of me completely.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I love it.
Yeah.
And I came to the U.S. when I was 12 and grew up in L.A., went to school and went to medical school. I went to a DO school, osteopathic school. I did most of my training in emergency medicine, board certified in family practice and grandfather in emergency medicine. And
Wait, can I ask why emergency medicine? That's a very special individual to go down that path.
I just love the intensity of the work. I love the ability to make significant change in a very short time. The ability to use not just what you learn in school,
Right.
but who you are as a human being and how you feel your patients, because you have such little time to get to know these people. And it's beyond just education. You have to feel your patients and really know what's going on. You have it's an emergent setting. You don't have hours and days. You got seconds to figure things out. So it really takes you as a whole. And the holistic approach to medicine, which what DOs are really trained in, was perfect for me, and I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. Enjoyed every second of it.
Wow. I know there's more. Tell me more about the bio that got you up to the point where you kind of shifted into cannabis. Yeah.
So when all this cannabis legalization started in our state in Nevada, there was a lot of discussions, and that was right about the time that I had to make a decision in my life. I was getting promoted to be a super high position in a very traditional healthcare business, medicine. I just realized that I don't believe in it.
That's a big realization.
Yeah, I decided I don't believe in, feeding our youth and our people horrible foods. And then try to fix them as they get older with diabetes and hypertension and just like completely bypassing the reality of life of we are what we eat. And it's such a huge portion of what makes us. I just didn't want to be part of it. So I kind of packed up my stuff and got rid of everything I had and took a backpack and moved to India.
So wait, how long ago was that?
That was in 2013.
Okay, not really that long ago.
8 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so you were like, I'm done with this medical stuff. I'm passing up this high-paying job.
Yeah.
And I'm packing up my stuff. You must have really been done with it.
You know, something either moves you within or it doesn't.
Yeah.
For me,
that's very
life
fair.
is not worth living if you're not moved.
Yeah.
That's at least my belief. And every time I saw a patient in an emergency room, I was moved. Every single time, good or bad outcomes. You know, people died, horrible.
Sure.
But I was moved. We did our best, and things would happen. Or most of the time, people survived and did well and walked out, and they benefited. So it's I was in love with what I was doing, and I was no longer in love with what I was doing. And
enough said, right? That's a message for everybody.
Yeah.
Why India?
Always called me. I
think it does tap a lot of spiritual people. And
always called me. And I was very interested in the sutras. I was interested in...
Can you explain what the sutras are?
Sutras are the ancient Hindu guidelines. Sutras were written from, they say, from the gods and would direct people on how to eat and how to perform their daily activities and how to interact with each other, and rules and regulations that were so old that nobody knew where they came from. When I was growing up in a third world country, my dad was a physician and his dad was a folk doctor kind of. I remember when I was a kid, they'd bring me herbs all the time. Even though my dad was a doctor, he would bring us herbs because his dad taught him. Sure. Even though he went to a significant medical school, French residency, all that kind of stuff. But and nobody knows where these things came from. So India was the base of where I thought medicine really came from. So first I went up in the monasteries up in the northern part of India, Rishikesh, and just lived in monasteries and prayed and meditated and right on the Ganges River in the Himalayas.
I mean, I was just reading about the Ganges River. Is there stuff going on all the time there?
Oh my God.
It sounds like a pretty happening place.
Yeah, it's there's a place. When I got to India, I was meeting a friend of mine, this Australian girl, who was a dear friend of mine. We got to Delhi, and from Delhi we're going to Varanasi, which is supposed to be the most religious part of the country, where people come. We just happened to get there on that 1 week where everybody needs to go to the Ganges River to duck their head underwater 3 times, and we get there. I mean, I'll spare you the story on how we got there, but we get there and felt like all of India is in Varanasi, and this river where people are washing their clothes, and
it sounds like a dirty old river. I'm not going to lie to you.
It is the filthiest water in the world.
I don't think I want to bless anything in this water.
but and it's amazing how they go about it, because they wash themselves in there, and they have dead bodies that are burning, disgusting. And they're going down, and I saw some guy gargling with the water, and because he was, just all kinds of crazy stuff.
But they believe it is the holiest place in the world.
It is, I'll tell you, a huge humbling experience.
Okay.
I'm looking at this. I'm a doctor. I just get there. I'm like, what the hell?
You're injecting yourself with like...
E. coli. This is E. coli, because I know there's like people...
You brought your own vax. You just... Yeah.
Yeah, people go to the bathroom.
Of course, it's everything.
So I get into the cab. There's these rickshaws, right?
Of course.
This guy's driving around the rickshaw, and the guy speaks perfect English, speaks 4 languages, very highly educated.
That's impressive.
Right in a rickshaw, and he's got some water in a tube hanging off this rear mirror. I'm like, what is that? It's like, it's the Ganges water. Please tell me, how is it that people, they have feces in there and they gargle in there. What is it? He goes, in the Western point of view, it might be very filthy.
Yeah.
But we believe this is the holiest water and we don't get sick.
Well, there you go.
I was so humbled by this guy that spoke perfect English telling me his point of view that we're crazy because we Westerners.
Right. We look around and think this is filthy.
Filthy.
I just said it myself.
And their belief.
Isn't that
Their
wild?
belief is what gets them through any of these infections.
That's faith right there.
Yeah, it is exactly. Yeah, so it is the Ganges
Why
River.
why the three dunks? What's going on with the three dunks?
Well, every Hindu is supposed to be at the Ganges River, and the reason is it's a beautiful story. Shiva. So the ashrams that are there throughout the country, there's the monasteries. Each one of them is connected to one of their gods. Shiva is the god of the Ganges. When they say back in the old times, where there was no water. So when he laid his head back on the mountain and his hair started flowing, and that's where the water from the Ganges River started coming.
I would drink that.
Yeah, so
maybe.
that's
possibly, sort of.
So that's the story.
Gia will be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Can, the world's first microdose THC beverage, is now available in dispensaries all over Nevada. Out of all drinks in 2019, cannabis or not, BevNet recognized Can as the best new beverage. It's only 30 to 35 calories per serving and comes in 3 delicious and award-winning flavors: lemon lavender, blood orange cardamom, and grapefruit rosemary. More information and where to buy your 6-pack of Can is available at our website, drinkcan.com. That's with 2 N's, drinkcan.com.
Didn't Lord Shiva also bring cannabis?
Yes, crazy you say that.
Yeah.
Our company's name is called Nuveda. Originally, when we started our cannabis company, it was called Nuveda. And after all the northern monastery and meditation stuff, I went down to the south, to Coimbatore, to study plant-based medicine, which is called Ayurveda.
Yep.
Ayurveda is the 5th Veda.
Okay.
Right? There's multiple Vedas. 3rd and 4th Vedas, which are sutras.
Okay.
Vedas are sutras, right? Which I told you about earlier.
This is a whole history lesson here. This is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, the 3rd and 4th Vedas are completely peppered and filled with cannabis from 5,000 years ago. In fact, a lot of the plant-based medicine was from cannabis.
There you have it. Well, let me ask you a question. Did you consume any cannabis prior to that in your life?
Yeah, not
as a doctor, like
here and there. I played around with, but nothing like I was not a regular smoker.
Right.
You
couldn't have been actually as a physician, right? Like, because that's
I couldn't, and I wasn't. But before I left, my mom, the reason.
Yeah.
I'm here today.
Yes.
In what I do is because of my mother. God rest her soul. Amazing woman. And she ended up having ovarian cancer. She stayed alive with ovarian cancer, stage 4 ovarian cancer, which usually they survive 9 months, 12 months, 18 months maybe.
Tops, yeah.
Almost 8 years.
Because of cannabis.
Because of cannabis.
You got to say more about all that.
Yeah, that's how I got into this.
Sure.
So my mom is in remission, kind of. I go to India. I leave this job, go to the north and hang out, go to south to study Ayurvedic medicine, plant-based medicine. I admit myself to the hospital there with all those teachers, and I wanted to know what the feeling is and so forth. So I come back and I learn about plant-based medicine. I believe in plant-based medicine. I see patients that were there. I'm talking about patients that are coming, including myself, which I didn't have any problems when I get there, except same thing. I come from this high velocity trauma, back and forth to the ER, running businesses and so forth, and come in. And I'm like, I'm here to learn. And the guy takes a look at me, and they deal with doshas.
I don't know.
Doshas. There's 3 doshas. Is your body's inner functioning. They don't believe in high blood pressure.
Okay.
They don't believe in high cholesterolemia. They believe in your systems, your internal systems. Your doshas are not aligned.
Okay.
Look, I spend a lot of time there, and I walked out of there just knowing how much I don't know. And I was so humbled because, we in the Western world,
We think we know everything.
I was a professor of medicine at 2 schools,
Yeah, you were
top
fancy.
of my
You were a
class,
big shot.
blah, 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 blah. And I go there. First of all these guys are MD trained. They're all
Sure,
MDs.
sure.
And then they go further and study plant-based medicine. They know if they mix the root of plant A and get plant B's leaves and crush it and dry it and
that's
mix it
fascinating.
together, they're going to cause an effect in your body
Yeah.
that is going to reduce your sympathomimetic symptoms, for example.
Wow.
Right. So I get there and the guy, put your tongue out,
Yep.
look at my eyes, check my pulse out, ask me about how my bowel movements are.
Basic stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't want you to be our student here for the first 21 days. I just want you to follow my direction. He sticks me in a room and just says, stay, don't do anything. I'm like, okay. So 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I was about to kill myself after the third hour, right? And then they started treating me with the medications and panchakarma and
Wait, punch karma.
there's the massages and the foods that you get. So it's,
Sounds like a spa.
I'm
not feeling bad for this trip for you. It sounds good.
first day the massage was great,
Okay.
but once these toxins start leaving your body,
Sure.
and I was dreading every day for 21 days going and getting an hour massage. It's not a massage. At one point they put 750 cc of oil in my rectum.
Okay.
To cleanse you out.
Sure.
And
Sure. Colonics.
yeah, but I'll tell you, and bitters and oils that you have to eat, and basically it's just and then food. And I lost, 15 pounds in a matter of 3 weeks. I could remember phone numbers from my high school,
Wow.
and it was
Cleaned everything out.
and I walked out of there, and I'll never forget. Once you land in India, the sound decibel noise is like five decibels higher than anywhere else you are in the world. Cows with bells walking down the street, and rickshaws and monkeys. There's so much noise, and it's got a high tension about the whole thing, right?
Interesting. It's such a spiritual place, yet so much going on. Unorganized chaos.
It's such a beautiful place. And then you walk out with all that chaos, and you look around after this 21 days of this treatment. I had never felt so powerful in my life.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I believed in
Do people
plant-
come from all over the world to get treated here?
all over the world. I had a guy who was next door with severe psoriasis, which like his entire arm was like in crusted over.
That's gross. I can't hear any more about that. Yeah.
So what do we do here? We give him steroids and
Yeah, we just...
I watched this guy in 3 weeks come in and walk out. It still had some left over, but like 80% improved, which we in the Western world, there's no way we could get it there. There's no way. Mm-mm. And I started believing in this. I'm coming in as a Western doctor and talking to these doctors and not believing at the beginning. And keep in mind that Ayurveda it's all about the way of life. It's the 5th Veda, and it talks about what you put in your body is going to heal you. You just have to know what you put in your body.
Okay.
And you pray twice a day. Every day in the morning, you first get up and you have puja.
What is the prayer?
Puja, they get cow pie and they burn it. And then it's just a repetitive discussions of sayings. And
like mantras? Or is this repetitive mantras? Okay.
Mantras.
Okay.
All the hospitals also are connected to one of the gods. And this happened to be a Shiva. So their more prayers are towards Shiva, and they sing music together. And it's a very beautiful thing. So your healing is just not by plants and medicine, but it's also mental healing and that sort of thing. So
how long did they leave in your room that day? How long?
All day.
It was just like you can't leave the room, you can't walk around?
Well, no, because you have your food in your room.
Was the food good?
Food's amazing,
Okay.
but it's not a lot. But it's just like it's very tasty. It's amazing. There's no sugar. There is no sugar, and you eat. You have to be with your food. So while you're having your food, there's nothing around. It's you and your food.
Okay.
So you connect
You're
with the food,
yeah.
with the food, and which is very similar in the monasteries, in the ashrams. You sit on the floor. The food was amazing in the ashram, but you sit on the floor and nobody talks. You're not allowed to talk.
Just be with your
You're
food.
just with your food. So I was about to go from India to train with a shaman, and my mom's cancer came back.
Okay.
So I come back, I fly back, and she's, immediately to surgery to take the tumor back out again. This is the second time she's going through major surgery. The first time back in the hospital, every time she got chemo, hospitalized, almost died over and over and over again every time she got admitted to the hospital. And second time around, I just put her on cannabis. I didn't care what my dad said or my brother said.
Point,
I'm like, I don't, And this woman did not have a single admission to the hospital, and she was sitting at a dinner table with us because of cannabis.
Gosh, I love this.
And most of the people that die is not because the cancer is killing them. It's because they get a pneumonia. They can't eat. They can't drink. They get dehydrated. Then they get dehydrated. Then they get urinary tract infection. Then, all these sequelas of basic needs in life, which chemo just destroys you. So I come back. Now I've studied plant-based medicine. I've seen its effect on people from these centers that are self-contained. So they grow their own plants. They make medicine out of it. And the people that are working with it are the community. So they involve the community. So you really evolve that whole area. People are together helping people get healed, get better, move on. And such a beautiful thing. And you come back and now cannabis is working on my mom. Nevada is getting approved for
Question.
cannabis.
Mom was taking what, edibles? She was doing RSO. What did...
Well, back then, it was hilarious. It wasn't funny to me at the time when I found my mom. I come home and I'm looking through the kitchen window from the outside. My mom was laid out on the kitchen floor. I thought she was dead.
Right.
So I run in and apparently I was giving her these Jolly Ranchers.
There you go.
Back then, like I don't know, 8 years ago, whatever. And these they worked, except that apparently this Jolly Rancher was a little bit more potent than the other ones.
A little bit, yeah.
And she was laid out. So I'm like, this is stupid. This is absolutely ridiculous that we have this plant-based medicine that's been used for 5,000 years. We've been banned by the government to use this, and it's not dosed properly. Like, what gives?
That.
Like, hello. And my friends were getting involved in Nevada and it's cannabis, and we were all doctors. And I'm like, this is what I need to do in life. This is what I need to do. It's like, this is what I got to do.
I love that.
I'm here.
I love that.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cannabis.
the universe plans this out for you and directs you where you need to be and what you need to do.
And this
no
plant
question.
taps you.
Oh, no question.
Now for a quick word from our sponsors. From the chief lobbyist of Matos Consulting, Jay is spearheading a new bill for consumption lounges. Jay is passionate about alternative places to consume cannabis, so our city and the Strip can remain family-friendly.
So tell us more, though, how it affected Mom that was able to keep her going for so long.
Well, again, she wasn't falling into these rabbit holes that most cancer survivors or non-survivors fall into, that they're dehydrated, they get sick, they get a urinary tract infection.
It really does start with a lot of that basic stuff.
Super basic stuff, right? They're laying in bed because they can't move around. So the fluid in the lungs kind of starts layering out, and they end up with a pneumonia, end up in the hospital, they die. Just as simple as that. So you keep your basic needs alive, and which cannabis does. We're just tapping into the endocannabinoid system, and towards the end of her life, well, not for a while, she was just killing it, walking around. I mean, she had shaved her head.
Okay.
I shaved my head, and then her hair was coming back, and she was, doing like bleached blonde hair. And this is a very conservative woman.
She was having fun.
Yeah, with the and she was happy to be alive. She was just like, she couldn't believe that she's alive. And because all her friends, the people that she would go to chemo with, and they're all dying off, and she's staying alive and well.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I had a very talented guy, is an American guy that was in Switzerland, and he was selling seeds and extracting from 20 years ago.
Okay.
And he would make me CBN, and I was giving that to costing me a lot of money at cost because I was in a business.
Sure.
It's still costing me so much money, but this woman was just thriving and did amazingly well, stayed alive for a long, long time. She actually, this is probably one of the sweetest moments of my life.
Oh.
That we're applying for our licenses for cannabis.
Okay.
And I was in a town close to Vegas in Pahrump. I had a bunch of health centers and managed all that. I put the healthcare, the infrastructure of the entire healthcare for Nye County together, and all the county commissioners knew me and so forth. And while we were getting the application, my mom was probably 5'4", right? Tiny little woman, feisty.
Mm-hmm.
And while she had cancer, she shows up from LA to Nye County wearing a white, beautiful suit. Wow. She was very, very vain. My mom was this beautiful, vain woman. And she gets up and she goes to all the county commissioners and hundreds of people in the room that are waiting for the applications. And,
sure.
And, everybody going, doing their song and dance to be picked by the county commissioners. And she gets up and she goes, my son is so-and-so, and this cannabis has kept me alive and healed me. And I want every patient here to have the same experience. You should have seen the energy in that room. People were just like they knew me and they knew what we were doing, but having an actual person that's been, and this very, very Republican, not that's bad or good.
Understood.
I'm just saying that mentality of like us, like my dad, like cannabis is horrible.
Right. Devil's lettuce.
And see physicians' mother on cannabis there telling him, hey, I'm alive because of this stuff. It was like a really powerful moment.
Gosh, that's awesome. We're actually coming close to the end of our first part here, because your background explains why cannabis is helping to evolve mankind, because we need physicians to be on board with this. We can't have this, it's bad and wrong. Otherwise, we can't evolve. So how do you tell someone, how do you explain this is good for you? I was trying to tell my mother about the endocannabinoid system, and it's just that didn't go anywhere. And I think, let me clarify. The answer is her doctor needs to tell her. If her doctor tells her, she'll do anything.
Look, the medical world knows.
They do, right?
They know, right? They know. They're we as doctors are taught not to be the first to use anything, medicine, and not be the last. Okay. So they don't want to jump in because they're not 100% sure.
Right.
The negativist stigma and the FDA, which governs our lives because we are FDA ruled. Mm-hmm. We are, we inject stuff into humans, and we have to know what we're giving them, because otherwise we have a fiduciary duty to do no harm.
Right.
We have an oath, do no harm.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
Because it's so new.
Okay. Dr. Batty, I have enjoyed this thoroughly. We're going to return for part 2, and we're going to return and talk a lot about pain management. I want to talk about your studies, people who are out there, the opioid crisis. I want to talk about addiction, and we'll pepper at anything else that comes up on your journeys and travels. Is that fair?
Fair enough. There's one thing, if I may.
Yeah.
I made a commitment in my life that anyone that needs help with cancer or something similar to that they're not sure about cannabis or how to take it or how to mix it with their own current medications.
Oh, yeah.
This is my commitment back to the world. I work for free for any cancer patient that requires any kind of medicine with cannabis. Mm-hmm. And they don't know what to do, or they need me to talk to their physicians or have a joint therapy or whatever. It's my obligations to the universe. So please let your listeners know.
Well, is there a website?
They have a contact us. They have a contact us, and they just write in there.
Literally,
they want to talk to.
So what's the website?
Betty. It is sanctuarynv.com.
Sanctuarynv.com.
Yeah. And then you can message
That is
in there.
amazing. Thank you for that. I think that's a mic drop right there.
Look, if one person, just one person, has another week or 2 or month or year to live longer because of what happened to my mom, I want that for people. I want that.
I think I love you. I know. I don't think I know. I love you.
Thank you.
You're my brother.
Thank you.
Name your
Thank you.
sister. Aho Satnam. Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap this session, and we're gonna start the next one with that because I think people need to know. So for everyone listening, thank you so much, Dr. Patty. That was incredible. That's really touching that you're willing to help people like that.
What we're supposed to do?
No, well,
And leave the universe a better place that you found it. Evolution. This is what we were talking about,
that's part of what we're doing with this show here.
Yeah, evolution of
Global
mankind.
access awareness. Yeah, evolution of mankind, though we have evolved in this 30 minutes. So for everyone listening, please come back next week for part 2. We're going to continue this conversation with cannabis addiction, pain, more of the evolution of mankind through our love and devotion to this beautiful plant. So any parting words that you want to say?
Take care of yourselves.
Take care of yourself. Very, very humble, very humble. So, dear friends, as I always like to say, welcome to the future of cannabis. My name is Gia. I'll be your tour guide.
You have been listening to a paid program sponsored by Get Elevated. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you heard do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.